Well, hey, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations. Appreciate you being here. Today we are doing another watercolor project. Really, these easy beginner kind of watercolors that we're doing together are really opportunities to learn. These are developing our knowledge and our skill with watercolor more than anything else. And I say our skill because I don't have watercolor skills. So these are things that I'm doing to experiment with and play with watercolors so I can get better with them. I can develop some skill with them, and I'm taking you along with me. And I think what's important is you need to be part of this process. I mean, I could wait and only put out a watercolor video when I feel like I could do a good watercolor, which might mean that you would never see a video. But I think all too often, if we only watch people that are awesome at something, it may intimidate us into never trying that thing. Whereas I don't exactly know what I'm doing. I'm watching others and I'm playing and I'm trialing what they're doing. So you get to trial along with me and we are developing our skills together. So today's video, I had some people saying, okay, but I'd love to be able to paint some flowers. So we're doing a flower video, but we're doing a painted flowers for those of us that have no clue how to paint a flower. And so we're not doing roses, we're not doing tulips, we're not doing daffodils, we're not doing a specific flower. It may be, knowing me, it may look a little more pansy-ish, but it's just a flower, right? We're just playing. And so we're gonna paint it in a way that utilizes spatters. So I'm going to pull you overhead and we're going to start this together. Now we've got to do a couple of stages because with watercolor, there's stuff that we're doing and it's going to be wet. So we need that to dry before we add more wet because we're going to be layering. But, you know, letting it dry is not a big hardship. At any point when I'm saying let it dry, you can just walk away and leave it and let it dry, or you can make it dry. And that's just taking like a heat gun or you know, a little bit of an air dryer to it. If you've got tons of water, you don't want to have that blowing down on it. But if you've got a heat gun, it'll dry it out. So if you're impatient and you don't want to wait, that's what you do. Okay, let's just jump. Now for this, I am using dollar store watercolor paper. I've got clear water, clean water, and I just have a watercolor set. Use whatever watercolors you have. I'm just taking a big fat brush, dipping it into some water, and going into, this says it's a blue-gray deep. And I'm making it fairly strong. And I just want to add some spatters to my page. Clean my brush quickly, and let's add a little bit of green. And that might be enough color. We want to, at this point, use a flat brush. Dip it into some water. We don't want it absolutely soaking, but what we're going to do is we're going to pull that color, right? So this is creating our background. Now, bear in mind, this might seem pretty bold, but watercolor dries lighter. So we are just creating a bit of a background. Just so we're not painting our flowers on plain white paper. Now I've taken this and I've dried it off a little bit, and I'm just going to go back over it to smear it a little bit more, but to really, I'm taking off some of that water. Okay, I'm just gonna let this dry now and then come back for our next step. This is not fully dry, right? Little nothing would come off, but I can feel it's not fully dry, but I'm okay to go on. So, taking a rounded brush, and now what I want to do, and just check to make sure I was really filming, is whatever my flower color is going to be. I think I'll do kind of a purpley tone. This says it's imperial purple. So again, getting some color on the brush. And I'm going to do a couple of flicks, maybe there, just that. These are going to become my flowers. So I'm taking a slightly bigger one and getting it wet. I don't want tons of water, but here's where I make a flower. I'm going to pull that paint color out. I want that a little bit wetter. And these become my petals. So I had a couple of flowers there. I mean, a couple of dots there. That's really bad. Okay, this will still be okay. Where's my purple? I'm just going to drop a little bit more in there. So I get a little bit more color happening. All right, there's one. And we're just mostly using the color that's on the page. I'm just doing little 4-petal flowers. Make my life a little easier. And I'm just looking to get the rough shape on there. I can go back and I can add more water, more color and water later. And some of them not fully open. Okay, so some of them you can go back even now, you know that they're starting to dry, but you could add a little bit more color if you wanted. And especially maybe in the center, letting it bleed out a little. And when you think you have enough, don't worry about unused dots. We're going to be actually adding more dots later, so don't let that stress you out. But when you think that you've added as many flowers as you want, stop. Let it dry. Now that it's kind of dried off, I want to go back in with that same dark purple and just add a little bit of intensity in the middle of these flowers. You can see how much watercolor fades and lightens as it dries. So don't be afraid of color. I mean, it looked like a lot of color when we first did our wash. And then it's kind of faded away to nothing here. So just adding that little dot of color kind of pulls this into, you know, more of a flower shape. And I'm just going to take a drier brush and just kind of maybe pull it out a little bit to create a little distinction in some areas. Now while the centers are drying, because I'm not going to touch the centers, I just want to take a really thin brush, and I'm kind of doing this in a brown, but maybe run it through the black a little bit too. And I just want to loosely add some little stems coming down. I don't want them super dark. I don't want them bold. I just want to, you know, give the impression that the heads of the flowers aren't just hanging out in space. And again, I can come back in and darken those a little bit. In particular, just maybe a little bit at the top of the stem. Okay, now, the next part that I want to do is a little unconventional, but we're playing. So this is cool, a little soft, right? So I'm gonna take some of that purple again, that same color, and I'm just gonna add a few spatters here and there in the purple. And then I'm going to take white. And I'm really mixing this. Probably good not to get it on the rest of my paints. And then let's do a bit of gold. Now, of course, if you're doing the spatters and there's something that you don't want it spattered on, then just cover that piece up. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this well enough alone and I'm gonna let it dry and then we'll take a closer look at it. Okay, let's take a look at our little watercolor. This is how it turned out. Let me hold it up straight for you guys. And then you can see a little bit of the blue, the gold, and so just kind of nice and loose and kind of fun. And I gotta tell you, so this is just straight watercolor. I did do one afterward to show, it was like in pale orange flowers and it was kind of a little bit too washed out. So rather than adding more color in, I thought I'd let it dry and instead add in just some black pen, loose details. So again, you can go mixed media with these afterward, right? And switch it up. Now, I have this little thrifted frame, $2. So just to show you, it's not the perfect frame for this picture, but this picture isn't really good enough to deserve an absolutely perfect frame. But I just want to show you, I'm not going to tape it in, but I'll just give you an idea. Everything looks better framed. Doesn't that look more professional already? And it really isn't. But everything framed just perks right up. Now you may have something that you've done and it's not frame worthy. You don't like it enough to put into a frame, but imagine this as a big gift card, or, you know, cut out this section and this section and make two cute little gift tags. So don't think, I mean, you know, cutting off this whole big piece here, that would be a gorgeous bookmark to gift somebody, put a hole in it and a lovely little ribbon at the top. So none of this is wasted, right? So I don't want you to think, oh, I can't paint and I just did garbage, and nothing is ever wasted. Cutting them down, making them into things, adding them to little scrapbook pages or junk journals or little gift tags and cards, all of these things. But you know what? Also, pop it into an old frame and just see what it looks like. You might be surprised at how lovely just the framing makes some of these. I hope you give this a try. You can see that it would, I gotta tell you, it was fun. Because I did this one with you. And then I did one to see, okay, what about adding ink? And then I did another one. And then I did one that had a big wet blob, and then I blotted it and I messed that up. So I'm gonna cut these two sides and do something, paint something on those rather than the big wet blob. So it doesn't all go smooth, but it's all a learning experience. I've now learned, don't blot the big wet blobs. Now you know, don't do that either. You can see it just, this buckled. I didn't have it taped down well enough, and it buckled, and I got this big pool of water, and I thought, oh, I'll just blot that away. So blotting makes really good clouds, apparently. Who knew? Go figure. I hope you give it a try. You didn't have to draw a flower. You just had to be able to pull the paint out of the wet blob, the spatter. These are just splatters that look like flowers. This was fun. This was awesome. Let me know if you give it a try. I think that, again, I'm just working on dollar store paper here, guys, because I'm just learning. So there's not a lot of expense in this, in the learning process. I get more expensive paper will actually do these things even better. But when I'm ready for it, I'll be better. I'm thinking there's a logic to that. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you give it a try, as always. And thanks for coming on the learning journey with me, guys. You know what? We can have fun along the way. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.